Mm. Mhm. Mhm.
Welcome back, host. Have a great show.
Mhm. Oh yeah, here we go. Boom. Here we go. Mhm.
Oh, uno, dos, tres, cuatro. You see that black boy over there running scared? His old man in a bottle. He done quit his 9 to 5. He drank full time and now he's living in a bottle. See that black boy over there running scared. His old man got a problem, and it's a bad one. He ain't done pawned off damn near everything. His old woman a wedding ring for bottom. And don't you think it's a crime when time after time after time people in the bottom. There's people living in the bottom. Listen to me.
Well, I certainly think it is a crime. Drinking wine from the bottle. Hey, I don't know if you listened to those hearings today, but if those weren't crimes, I don't know what is. Adam Schiff sat there and lied his behind off. I mean, here's a guy who's supposed to be, well, who is a sitting congressman, the head of the House Intelligence Committee. That's an oxymoron, if I've ever heard one. And he just lied. I mean, and then when he got caught on his lie, he said, well, it was a parody. No, you lied to the American people, Adam Schiff. You're always accusing other people of lying. You accuse the president of lying constantly when it's you and Obama and Biden who just blatantly lie and expect people to give you a break or look the other way or try to act stupid that you don't know what you're doing. Well, the reality is you certainly know what you're doing. All of you guys. You're not stupid. What am I talking about? I'm talking about this, and I'm going to play it for you because to try to tell you that a sitting congressman, the chairman of a major committee in the U.S. House of Representatives, had the audacity to lie on a transcript. I mean, it's not like we don't have the transcript here, people. And for those of you who don't know, we're out broadcasting on Facebook and YouTube. Facebook at Charles Butler Conservative, uh, uh, YouTube at Charles Butler 52 in my little studio. We're going to have a nice little surprise for you as the uh, week kind of winds on. Right now, I'm looking for Frank Venucio. Don't know where he is. Let's see if he's around. Um, he calls in on Thursday these last couple of weeks, so I don't know if what he's gonna do, but I just want to know so that I can get into my thing and go full swing. Because you know how I like to swing, and it is fast, 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 high, 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 and with the facts. But Adam Schiff, unlike Adam Schiff, who says, "Well, I got busted lying, but what does that mean? I mean, it was just a parody." No, you lied. Hello, you lied. So Adam Schiff lying Adam Schiff, the little weasel. Somebody told me to be careful about punching him out. If he was hanging out with Ed Burke or somebody, Ed Buck or somebody that like that. I tease me to death. Hey, Frank. Yeah, they're open. Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, Frank said the lines weren't open when he called. He's probably right. Kind of got around to open them up a little late, but hey, that happens when you're having fun. But Adam Schiff, I'm going to play while we're waiting on Frank to call in. I'm going to play this clip from Adam Schiff and his lies about
President Zelensky eager to establish himself at home as a friend of the president of the most powerful nation on earth had at least two objectives: get a meeting with the president and get more military help. And so what happened on that call? Zelensky begins by ingratiating himself, and he tries to enlist the support of the president. He expresses his interest in meeting with the president and says his country wants to acquire more weapons from us to defend itself. And what is the president's response? Well, it reads like a classic organized crime shakedown.
Ukraine is
shorn of its rambling character and in not so many words, this is the essence of what the president communicates. We've been very good to your country, very good. No other country has done as much as we have. But you know what? I don't see much reciprocity here. I hear what you want. I have a favor I want from you, though. And I'm going to say this only 7 times, so you better listen good. I want you to make up dirt on my political opponent, understand lots of it. On this and on that, I'm going to put you in touch with people, not just any people. I'm going to put you in touch with Attorney General of the United States, my Attorney General, Bill Barr. He's got the whole weight of the American law enforcement behind him. And
wow. Can you believe it? Can you believe this guy? Hey, we have Frank Venucio with us from the New York Analysis of Policy and Government. Frank, what did you think of Adam Schiff and that statement that he made?
Isn't that classic Adam Schiff?
I mean,
the characterization that he gave of the president's discussion with the president of Ukraine was nothing short than scandalous. It was so false and so ridiculous. Here's the problem. Whether we're talking to the man in the street or whether we're talking to the former head of the Harvard Law School, Alan Dershowitz, there is no question that the president violated no law, committed no crime, in fact, did nothing wrong. Indeed, he didn't even do anything unethical. Here's the essence of what makes this so fascinating. The belief by many Democrat leaders that they're immune from the law has now reached breathtaking proportions. It's now gotten to the point where when you point out that a Democrat, in this case Joe Biden, has broken the law, you, the person that's pointing it out, gets in trouble while the perpetrator goes free. It's as though person A went to knock over his local 7-Eleven, person B reported the crime to the police, and it's person B that somehow got arrested. Yeah. This is absolutely absurd.
Yeah, well, what tickled me is when Adam Schiff gets called out on lying on what the transcript said, he said it was a parody. It was a parody. What? Hold on, wait a minute. You're chairing a major committee that you have called and made public because you want the public to know, one, what the acting National Defense Intelligence Director says, the Director of National Intelligence says. And then you lie about what I'm going to tell you 7 times. There is no reciprocity. Not once did Trump ask or mention reciprocity, or we're not getting any help from you, or we're not getting any cooperation from the Ukraine. That conversation did not. It's amazing. If Adam Schiff needs to be punched square in his nose for lying to the American people. I'm serious. I mean, this is a guy.
It is absolute. It is an absolute fabrication. But what really brings to light the nature of this particular endeavor is that before Nancy Pelosi even had a look at the transcripts, before she had researched any of the issues, before she had the slightest idea of what was going on, she initiated a process of impeachment, or at least the first steps towards impeachment, which goes to show, just like in the Russian collusion case, that this is not about seeking the truth. It's about getting sound bites into the newspaper. Charles, I've used this analogy before. I start a rumor that Charles Butler is not really a human being. He is an alien smuggled into Chicago from outer space. Now, of
Well,
course, that's ludicrous.
you're
It's
not far from
nonsense.
being wrong.
But the sound bite will be Butler accused of being an alien from space. This is what the Democrats are doing. They're going for the headline, the soundbite. They know for a fact that their adoring partisan media is going to cooperate with them in that soundbite. You know, we go back to the Ray Donovan case many, many years ago. It was the Secretary of Labor utterly and falsely accused of being corrupt. After years and years of investigation, it turns out there wasn't a scintilla of truth to any of the statements about him. And Ray Donovan and Ray asked basically, where do I go to get my reputation back? Because the newspapers that headlined the stories of his corruption, of the allegations of his non-existent corruption, ran the fact that he wasn't corrupt after years of investigation, under page 47 under the hemorrhoid ads. So this is exactly what the media, what the Democrats are going for. From what I've seen so far, it appears to have backfired. One of the polls that just came out said that among independents, by a margin of 61 to 39, they felt that this entire matter has exposed Joe Biden. It has been to the detriment of Joe Biden and has not been to the detriment of Donald Trump. Rather informally, just on the streets of New York, we've had some of our people asking people in the street what they thought of this whole thing. Most of them, and remember, this is big, bad, liberal New York, most of them thought it was ludicrous. Most of them could not see that the president did anything wrong whatsoever.
Well,
this is really backfiring on the Democrats.
He didn't. But think about this. This was the Democrats' opportunity to get rid of old Joe. Joe had too much baggage. Joe was too slow. Joe had the black vote locked. They knew that they could not shake the black vote from Joe. So thereby, if Joe gets the nomination, yes, blacks are going to vote with him, but a lot of other people aren't going to vote for him. So they get Elizabeth. Now they run Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren lied about her whole essence is built on lies. Here's a woman who won't answer questions when they say, well, how much will your health care program cost? And she will not address that topic at all about what will it cost the American people. And she says, well, the burden's not going to be on the middle class. Well, who in the hell is going to fall on? You don't have enough rich people in the world to support free Medicare for all, free college for all, free housing for all. We don't have enough rich people to support that. But, Maggie Thatcher said it best. And, this is something, Frank, that I've never really noted because it's really not pointed out. When I got out of college in 1975, I went to, I was on my way to get my commission. So Navy Federal Credit Union would lend you the money to buy a new car, and you didn't have to pay until 2 months after your commission date. So I could buy a car in January, wouldn't have to start payments until August of the same year. Okay. That was Navy Federal Credit Union back in the day before they started taking everybody and anybody into Navy Fed. So the reason I bring that up is I bought an MGB, which was made by a company called British Leyland, which no longer exists. British Leyland at the time made Jaguar. The car, Jaguar. We call it Jaguar. It was acquired by Chrysler Daimler. But the cars, as you remember in those days, The Jags and the MGBs were horrible in terms of maintenance, in terms of reliability. I was up. My nails were always had grease under them because I had to deal with mechanical issues with my car. Right, I'm serious. I had to carry a little, jumpsuit and tools and tape and DW40. So and this was the odd thing, you get a car from Great Britain, right? It's foggy and it's humid, and you would think that it wouldn't have a problem in foggy in humid weather. Well, every morning before I'd go to work, I'd have to raise the hood, spray some WD-40 in the distributor cap, clip the distributor cap back on, and wrap that baby up. Right, and my dual carbs would kick in. I was a kid. It's fun. It'd be a little problem now, but it was fun then. So anyway, long story short, it was, Britain, the automotive industry was controlled by the government. Britain was a democratic socialist state. A number of their major companies were controlled or in partnership with the government. Do you remember that?
I do indeed.
So, but as an American, you would never think that General Motors was, governed by or had any connection to, or Ford or Chrysler or Rambler or American Motors had any connection to our government. And here, they would say, well, British Leland is owned by the British government. What the hell are you talking about? It really didn't even register until later on, like in the 80s, when Maggie Thatcher came in and started privatizing these companies and taking them off the government tip.
Well, absolutely true, and of course came out with a better product in the final analysis when it's not government controlled. But with this entire thing with Adam Schiff and the Democrats, I think after years of Russian collusion, coming after the failure to stop the Brett Kavanaugh nomination through false stories, we're beginning to see a pattern. The Democrat leadership is, in the words of law enforcement, a recidivist offender. They do the same crime over and over again. And I think the public has finally gotten weary of it. You brought up a very good point when you said that part of this was perhaps not aimed necessarily at Trump, but aimed at getting rid of Joe Biden. The interesting story going into the 2020 election is not just the Republicans versus the Democrats or Donald Trump versus whomever wins the Democratic nomination. The real story at this point in time is the civil war within the Democrat Party. What was once a dominant party in the United States has been ripped asunder by extreme hard leftists who want to bring Venezuela-style socialism to the United States, and the kind of usual rank and file Democrat. It's that civil war that's being fought now. It's that civil war that's going to shape the future of our country to a large extent. Remember, this is the same Democrat Party, the same party that's ripping America apart with the false charge of Russian collusion, with the false charge of Brett Kavanaugh's sexual so-called misdeeds, the same party that's doing this right now. It's the same party that had no qualms about ripping America asunder in their bid to retain the slavery of the South and the segregation that followed it. So this party, like the party that we're talking in 2020, is a recidivist offender. They do not mind ripping the country apart for their own partisan gains, no matter who gets victimized.
Well, it's almost an oligarchy, because it's a few people controlling the government. It's not a dictatorship, but it's a few select people. Like here in Chicago, we have a few select people who think they're above the law. And so they think they can get away with anything. Perfect example is federal court. A group that I'm involved with goes into court, argues the case against the Obama library. The judge says, "Excellent job. I'll render my opinion at the end of the day." An hour and a half later, he renders a 52-page opinion. Do you think he could write a page a minute for a legal opinion? The answer is absolutely not. It was a done deal. Regardless of what they came in and argued, he was going to sanction and approve the Obama library. It's just that simple. I mean, how do you say on record I mean, here's a guy on record saying, I will render my opinion at the end of the day. And an hour and a half later, actually an hour and 20 minutes later, a 52-page opinion is rendered for the defense to build the Obama Foundation Center. I mean, come on. Hey,
well
dude.
said. Well said.
But you know, let's go back. Let's go. You know, I read this report yesterday, and I'm sure, like you did, I got up in it and I read down. You know, this is a strange thing, Frank. I went to CBS News, tried to download it, couldn't do it. The only outlet that let me print it off as a PDF file was Fox. And I'm good at computers. I'm good at technology. So if I can't do it, a lot of other people couldn't do it. So I downloaded, printed out, and I'm reading through this thing. And I read it about 5 times. And it was really interesting because this guy, Zelensky, President Zelensky, he was a stand-up comedian and he won the presidency of the Ukraine based on, and he said to the president, Mr. President, we followed your tactics and your strategy. I mean, when you read this document, right? And it's really interesting in that, and I had noticed this, that President Zelensky brings up Giuliani, not Donald Trump. Donald Trump says, hey, you know, we're trying to help you guys out. Andrea Merkel talks a good game, but she doesn't deliver. Zelensky said the same thing. He said, I did talk to Andrea Merkel, and I did meet with her. I also met and talked with Macron, and I told them they were not doing quite as much as they needed to be doing on the issues with sanctions. They're not enforcing the sanctions, meaning the sanctions on Russia. I mean, you know, here we are. Here these guys are, these two heads of state, having a candid conversation, having a great conversation. And in this document, in this transcript, Zelensky says that, yeah, we're looking into the prior prosecutors' handling of this case with Brazara, and that happens to include Joe Biden's son. But you know what really kills me, Frank, is you have Joe Biden sitting there. He's such a dummy. He's sitting there bragging about how he held hostage this $1 billion loan guarantee until they fired the prosecutor. How come nobody's talking about that?
That's exactly the point, which makes us think this has gone beyond outrage. It's actually gotten to the level of farce. Now, when Schiff says he was doing a parody, perhaps he's closer to the truth than we might think. But this entire thing is a parody of an investigation, just as the Russian collusion was a parody of an actual investigation.
The Russian collusion, which was, but hold it, where is Schiff? And remember, Schiff said that he had a smoking gun. And let me tell you, I'm looking forward to Schiff smoking gun, right? I'm saying, okay, well, maybe there's something we missed. Maybe there is something there that we need to look at. Maybe we missed something because we're so pro Donald Trump. We're so pro what he's doing. You know, maybe my head is so far up, Donald Trump's behind, I'm tasting his tonsils. I don't know. But if there's something out there to tell me something different, please show it to me, Adam Schiff. Let us know what you found and why you feel the way you do. And he is yet to deliver. He's yet to deliver. Has he or has he not? Did I miss something, Frank?
No, he hasn't. But what's fascinating about that, it's almost unsaid by most of the media, is that he has failed to deliver. They've held the nation hostage to all of these investigations, and there's no political or media penalty they're paying for doing just that. Now, if you wrote a political novel about someone disrupting the entire politics of a nation, leading to a split in the country, leading to hard feelings at an unprecedented level, and it turns out the whole thing was based on a hoax, most editors would say, get this manuscript out of here. It's too outlandish. Who would believe nonsense like that? But that's exactly what happened.
But, you know, Frank, see, this is what I don't believe, and this is the narrative that they're trying to sell us, that America is more divided than ever before. Bullshit. America has always been divided. We have always been divided on issues. When we broke from Great Britain, there were loyalists and there were revolutionaries who wanted to leave. That was a big riff. Let's fast forward to the
1960s with a combination of Vietnam and civil rights.
Well, even before that, you look at World War One. Woodrow Wilson put 125 Americans in jail. I'm sorry, 125,000 Americans in jail who spoke out against America going to World War One, entering into World War One. He put 125,000 Americans in jail based on what? Their opinion. They did not want to go to war, and they spoke out about it, and they were arrested and put in jail. And nobody ever talks about that. Again, a Democrat. Okay. So, fast forward, World War II. What does Roosevelt do? And I don't care what anybody says. I think that all the information points to the fact that Roosevelt knew that there was an attack coming at Pearl Harbor. They needed to get rid of those old tired battleships that had been built in the 20s, and they needed aircraft carriers, and they needed new equipment. And so overnight, December 7th, they launched the attack. December 8th, we declared war on Japan. The automotive industry, which was our manufacturing arm, switched to a war machine, and the rest is history. As the Japanese government said, if we awaken this sleeping giant, they will engulf us, because the reason we won the war was because of our manufacturing effort. Who sabotaged that industry? Bill Clinton. Who did he give it to? The Chinese. Who's rising to be the number one? If anyone should be tried for treason, and I've said this a dozen times, Frank, it should be Bill Clinton for what he's done with China and how he built up China into this monster that we have to deal with.
One of the fascinating parts about the Bill Clinton saga, of course, is that if you look in the 1990s, Bill Clinton's campaign was the attempted recipient of significant funds from the People's Liberation Army of China. And you wonder why the Chinese military would donate funds, or at least attempt to donate funds, to an American political candidate. Then you come to the part where Bill Clinton approved the sale, in fact, pushed the sale of Cray supercomputers to the Chinese, which allowed the Chinese military to become a superpower, which allowed them to catch up with the United States in military technology. Let's wind the tape even further. One of the last things that President Clinton did before he left office in 2000 was, of course, to sign legislation giving the Chinese open access and permanent access to the American market. It put millions of Americans out of work. It destroyed tens of thousands of American industries. And you have to wonder what was in the president's mind when he did something like that. And it doesn't take a lot of brain power to draw the line from the attempted contributions to his presidential campaign. And heaven knows what kind of dollars went into his private pocket in return for what he did. So when you talk about outrageous scandals that never get reported, that certainly is a prime one.
Listen, let me quote verbatim. Let me quote verbatim what was captured and reported on Bill Clinton. They said most suspects' funds were brought in by Johnny Chung. Johnny Chung went to jail, went to prison. He was a bag man for Asian billionaire, the Rengi family. They said Chang confessed that at least $35,000 of his donations to the Clinton campaign and the DNC had come from a Chinese aerospace executive, a lieutenant colonel in the Chinese military. Chung said that the executive helped him meet 3 times with General Xingdi, the head of the Chinese military intelligence. According to Johnny Chung's testimony at his own trial, he said General Xingdi told him, we really like your president. We hope he will be reelected. I will give you $300,000 US. You can give it to your president and the Democratic Party. Now,
there is in law, there's a saying, res ipsa loquitur, and it means the thing speaks for itself. In this case, res ipsa loquitur.
It led to 22 guilty pleas in various violations of election law. And John went to jail. A guy named John Rangley went to jail. I think it's about 5 Chinese guys went to jail behind donating to the Clinton campaign and the DNC in 96.
But the Clintons remained untouched.
Hillary Clinton should be in an orange jumpsuit. Bill Clinton, it should be, anytime I hear people talk about what a great president he is, I don't even address it anymore. I just leave it alone because it just makes me so angry because this man is a piece of trash. America has always been divided. I have a listener out there on my YouTube, Jerry B. And Jerry said, America has always been divided. Good point. Well, yeah, we've always been divided. That's America. We have a democracy. We're supposed to argue. We're supposed to challenge each other and come up with the best solution. But what happens is when you start cramming things down the American people's throat, like when you have a law on the books called the Defense of Marriage Act. There's a reason the Defense of Marriage Act was passed through Congress, signed by a president, and overturned by 9 unelected people in the Supreme Court. I should say 5. And I don't know about Kennedy. I think they had brainwashed that SOB. He ruled to overturn a law. How do you overturn a congressional law? Okay, I know. Plessy versus Ferguson. That wasn't a law. It was a court case. But we had a law that was overturned. That would be like going in overturning the Civil Rights Act and saying, well, the civil rights laws are bogus and we don't need them anymore, so let's just get rid of them. Okay, fine. I think we didn't need them in the first place because what? We have a constitution. And if the constitution is enforced and enforced fairly, you don't need all these other laws. If people just follow the law, follow our constitution like they're supposed to, we wouldn't have all these debates and all these arguments about what's right and what's wrong. Why are we discussing in the court system now that if you're born with a penis, you're a male, and if you're born with a vagina, you're a female? Why is that? Why is that a discussion in the courts? It just blows me away that we're actually trying to redefine what gender is, what sex is. It's outrageous. Well, according to Bill Clinton, oral sex is not sex at all. It's just pleasure.
You're absolutely right. But I think, again, I think this has been a bridge too far with this latest scandal, and I think it's going to come back. It certainly is coming back to destroy Joe Biden. He's dropped in the polls precipitously, which may have been Nancy Pelosi's or the Democrats' whole purpose in doing this in the first place, as you mentioned.
Frank,
that's where it goes from here. I'm sorry, go on.
Frank, that's what they did. They knew that there's nothing here in these transcripts. There's nothing there. There's no there in the transcripts. So the only person that this will hurt is who? Joe Biden.
Joe Biden, yeah.
This is the only person that's going to hurt Joe Biden. It's not going to hurt Donald Trump because people who like Donald Trump, the Senate has already said the House can send a resolution to impeach up here, but nothing's going to be done. It's not going anywhere. You can send it up here, but it's not going anywhere. They've already said that.
Right.
Nancy Pelosi knows that. So the question becomes for us, or should be for us, is who does this really hurt? It hurts Joe Biden. It doesn't hurt Trump. It doesn't hurt the administration. It doesn't hurt the executive branch. It doesn't hurt the judicial branch. It doesn't affect Kavanaugh. It hurts just one person, Joe Biden, who's caught on tape, quid pro quo. If you don't fire this prosecutor and put someone else in place that's more quote unquote solid, then you're not going to get your $1 billion loan guarantee. And SOB, within, a couple of hours, they'd fired that guy and got somebody in who's more solid. I love it.
To quote an oft-said phrase, you can't make this stuff up.
You can't make this stuff up. I say it all the time, Frank. You can't make this stuff up. Reality is far more interesting than fiction. And it's really interesting. Yesterday we were playing squash, and these young guys, they're 30 and under, or 35 and under, I should say. And they were like, "Well, Charles, this is like 24." I'm like, "24 is a TV series, man. It's Hollywood. It has nothing to do with oh, well, it's based on reality." Well, it has nothing to do with reality, boy. But you know what they do with these kids, and I saw this done with my daughter. They okay, so instead of reading Wuthering Heights, right? Instead of reading the book, the damn teacher shows a movie of Wuthering Heights, and it's not the old version of Wuthering Heights. It's the version with Robert De Niro. Okay, that basically that is basically loosely based on the damn book, and I'm thinking to myself, and we're paying $15,000 a year for this, for a teacher to show a damn movie. And talk about, well, this is Wuthering. Well, let's talk about Wuthering Heights and how Dickens wrote. Oh, bullshit. This has nothing to do with the book Wuthering Heights. But that's what our kids are getting today.
And didn't even provide the popcorn with it either.
I don't know, Frank. They may have. For 15 grand a year, you would hope they could get up and get a little popcorn, go get a little Diet Pepsi, and they're all into that PC stuff. I'm like, hey, I want the calories, dude. I want the calories. I want the taste. So, Frank, what do you think's going to come out of this, dude? What do you think's happening?
Well, I mean, you put your finger on part of it. I think it's the death knell for Joe Biden. I think, though, the Democrats may have shot themselves a bit in the foot, because I don't see this really hurting Trump in the slightest.
Not even.
I do see it. Not even. In fact, I think he gains points. Again, you go back to that independent poll. I do think that it's going to perhaps solidify that rift within the Democrat Party, if, in fact, as you said, people within the Democratic Party perceive this as an entire wedge to knock out Joe Biden. That I think a lot of traditional Democrats are going to say, this has really gone too far. I don't think we can support this party at the moment until something changes. Nancy Pelosi has been and is a very weak leader. This probably could be one of the things that pushes her out at the start of the next congressional session, whether that goes to a radical in Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or whether that goes to someone who will try to draw the party back to the center. Right. Is going to be the real question. It's going to be the real fight. Remember, there's a problem that Democrats are facing. All of their policies are going against their core constituencies. If we're talking about the Democratic Party stance on immigration, well, that goes certainly against the black constituency to a large extent.
Whoa, Frank. And the Latino constituency, let's be clear.
And the Latino constituency, you're absolutely right. If we're talking about opposition to the president's trade dispute with China, that goes against blue-collar workers. If we're talking about the tilt that the left wing of the Democratic Party has towards Iran and the fundamentalists in the Middle East and away from Israel, that goes against Jewish voters who have traditionally been Democratic Party supporters. So what the Democratic Party seems to be banking on is that the illegal vote of illegal aliens and the overwhelming vote from millennials who unfortunately have gone through 20 years of schooling of nothing but propaganda by the left, they believe, I think, that they, in combination with the hard left within the party that exists now, can produce a victory in 2020. I'm not so sure they're right.
Well, I can tell you they're not right. And more importantly, Frank, not only are they not right, people are not, this is the deal. Like Trump or don't like Trump, this is what people are finally coming around to believing, and nobody's talking about this. People are finally accepting the fact that this is Donald Trump's style. In your face, I'm not a politician. You attack me, I'm going to attack you. I am not. I am presidential in that I am not going to let you walk all over me like a rug and not say anything because I'm supposed to be the president. The American media destroyed Richard Nixon. The American media destroyed Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon, they did not like Richard Nixon. They never liked Nixon. They didn't like Nixon when he ran in 60. They didn't like him when he ran in 68. You know, the media referred to him as Tricky Dick. You had seasoned, respectable reporters who are always making off-color, offhanded remarks about the president, even though he was doing great things domestically and foreignly and in a foreign arena. The same way with this president. Donald Trump met with is either 17 or 19 leaders on Monday at the UN. Nobody said anything. Donald Trump gave one of the greatest speeches to date of his administration at the UN on Monday, and he called on all nations to put their citizens first and be nationalistic and put their country and their citizens' interests before this globalization that's run by corporations. Bill Clinton would do surveys, and we were talking about what the corporations are doing. I'm going, what about the people? I'm going, what the hell? When does an opinion poll set public policy, a dry public? I have to this day, I'm 67 years old. I have never, and I've always lived in the right zip codes. I don't know anyone who's ever participated in a opinion poll. I think I got one call one time from what was that old polling group? It was only one at the time, Frank. It was in the 60s and 70s. It's no, Gallup. Gallup. I got a call from Gallup once in my life. Once. I don't know anybody who's gotten a call from any other for polling. They said, well, 80% of Americans support assault weapons ban. I don't know anyone that supports an assault weapons ban. And I talk to all kinds of people every day. I don't know anyone who's been polled about assault weapons bans. But, you know, these people, well, we know that 95% of Americans want us to ban assault weapons, and that's what we're going to do. Wait a minute. Who voted on this?
And, of course, if you talk to experienced pollsters, they will tell you you can write a poll to get any result you want. So, I mean, there's things called push polling. There's opinion polling. You cannot go by polls. It's absolutely absurd. And, of course, you can also get a poll. You can have large numbers. But if you go by, for example, the voting record from the last campaign, whether it was presidential or a non-presidential year, go to an area that's voted totally liberal. And if you do your analysis, your polling there, you'll get a liberal result. If you go to a conservative district, you'll get a conservative result.
But they never come to, it's like this lady yesterday. I don't know if you heard this lady testify before the assault weapons ban hearing. And she said, I gave up my bump stock, but I'm not giving up my AR-15. So I am not complying with any assault weapons ban or confiscation of my weapon. I mean, man, these people are real. I mean, I'm sure that they were shocked in that committee. You could see the shock on the Democrats' face. It was like, oh my God, you know, this is a woman and she's saying, we are going to fight you. This wasn't some old white dude, who they could say, well, he's a white supremacist. He's a white nationalist. This was a woman who is a former police officer. She said, I'm not giving up my assault weapon. You can make up all these false things about people who she said less than 0.3% of crimes committed are bought in gun stores by criminals. Other than that, they get guns other ways to commit crime. That is a fact. She said, we're not giving up our damn guns. I mean, man, she just put it out there because you know what? That's what we have to do with these politicians, Frank. We should be right down there threatening these politicians. They sit back and they pass these laws in the dark without our people. They're supposed to represent the people, not corporations, not ideologies, not the ACLU. They're supposed to represent their districts. Anyway.
Well said.
Hey man, this has been, I haven't seen this much activity since Monica Lewinsky and this much interest. But I can tell you, I think people are tired of all the fake news, all the fake stuff, because everybody knows that Donald Trump didn't do anything wrong in talking to this Ukrainian president.
Yeah, I think it's become pretty evident, and I think it's a classic case of the Democrats overstepping their bonds. And where this goes, I think the Democrats would be particularly disappointed in it.
But could you just believe Adam Schiff and what he said? I mean, it's incredible what Adam Schiff said, and he calls it a parody after he gets busted. But listen, Frank, I want you to listen to this real quick.
Remember going over convincing our team or others to convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, I'm not going to, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was 6 hours. I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
Can you believe that? I mean, Frank.
The arrogance. Well, which is, by the way, going back to your point before, there's a certain arrogance that not just the Democrats have had, but just about all the elites in Washington have had. This is our ball game. We make the rules. We do whatever we damn well please. One of the chief objections to President Trump, he's not part of that elite establishment. I covered the inauguration of Donald Trump. I was in Washington before the inauguration. People were marching around D.C. with signs that said, impeach the president, impeach Trump. And I went up to a number of them, microphone in hand, tape recorder in hand, and I said, I saw your sign. I'm interested in your point of view. How can you call for the impeachment of a president that hasn't even been sworn in yet? There's nothing that he could possibly have done in office to impeach him because he hasn't been sworn in. He's not yet president. And they said, that's not the point. The point is he shouldn't be president. This arrogance that we're seeing on a massive scale is really bad for the country. It's really telling of where the country has been going. And it's telling why so many people in official Washington and so many people in what Donald Trump calls the deep state have been so eager to get rid of him. It's no longer business as usual in Washington, and all the wheels of power are trying to spin against him. But in doing so, they're also spinning against the will of the people. It was expressed relatively clearly in 2016, and we see an echo of this in the UK, over in England. The people voted to get out of the European Union, but the elites are saying, no, we can't do that. We have to stay in. It doesn't really matter what you people said in your election. We're going to get out of this thing. Who cares what you think? Who cares what you say? There are waves in world history. After the American Revolution, there was a wave of democratization throughout the world. In the aftermath of World War I, we started to see a wave of dictatorship throughout countries in the world. In the aftermath of World War II, we saw anti-colonialism become the trend. What you're seeing in the first part of the 21st century is a counter-revolution against democracy. It's the elite saying, this whole idea of people being able to run their own lives, it's not such a good idea after all. Democracy, really, we don't like it. And that's really what we're seeing here. That's what the problem is. That's why we're having such a strange sequence of events with these false accusations against the president, with the refusal to prosecute Democrat elites, simply because It's the revolt of the elites against the entire concept of democracy.
Well, this is the other thing, Frank. Think about this for just a second. Barack Obama, the man sitting in the Oval Office, said to on a number of occasions. He said it to in open mic. He said it in various press conferences. He said it in rallies. He said it in speeches that he gave around the country, that the Constitution gets in my way. The Constitution is outdated. The Constitution is out.
And of course, and add to that his comment, I can't wait for Congress to act. Yeah, when in fact, that's exactly what the Constitution tells him he has to do.
Wait a minute. He said, we need a government more like the UK. We need a parliamentary form of government. Here you have the President of the United States, a so-called fake constitutional law professor at University of Chicago Law School, saying to us, the American people, that we are governed by a document that is inadequate for him to govern. Am I making this up?
No, it's exactly the case.
And no one called him out on it. No one said he's unpatriotic. Right. No one said he's being treasonous. No one said when you and I talked about, we played that clip with Medvedev. We played it back when it happened. We talked about it. Nobody thought it was a big deal because it was little cute Obama. Barack, insane Obama. He's just talking. This is my last election. Tell Vlad this is my last election, and after I get through it, I can be more flexible with you. In essence, I can bend over further and spread my cheeks so that you can screw me.
Oh, the Russians, exactly right. Right, exactly the point.
Man, I'm sorry to bring this stuff up. But it's just, I just get tired of people overlooking the facts, Frank. They overlook the facts and they try to gin up things that just don't exist. And
that's where we are.
What Adam Schiff said, before you go, Adam Schiff said that the whistleblower was credible. This is a guy who got his information third hand, second hand, third. We don't know how he got his information, but we know he wasn't on the call. How about that?
Unbelievable.
So where are we going, Frank? How does a guy blow the whistle who wasn't on the call? Why does he think he can blow this? What do you think the repercussions should come to this guy? That means that the
only real repercussions we're going to see comes after the 2020 election. I don't think that neither the White House or the Republicans, for the most part, are really going to go after the whistleblower or anybody else, or really start to stop the prosecutions of people like Hillary Clinton until after the 2020 election is decided. Now, there's one caveat to all that, of course.
What's that?
We still haven't seen the IG report. Bill Barr's report on the how the Russian collusion nonsense started. Clearly, there's going to be some indications that the Obama White House was engaged in attempting to use the powers of the federal government for partisan political purposes. And just as we said before, the Obama White House is a repeat offender. They're recidivist. They did this with the IRS. Remember when they sicked the IRS on the Tea Party? Remember when
go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh. Remember when the Attorney General under the Obama administration said that she was going to consider criminally prosecuting any individual or organization who simply disagreed with the president on climate change? That, of course, was an extraordinary affront against democracy. I tend to suspect that we haven't heard the end of that. I think that all depends, though, on what happens in the 2020 election.
Well, I know one thing. You don't hear from Loretta Lynch anymore. She was front and center for a lot. She looks horrible. I don't know if you've seen her lately. Hair's undone. She's moving very quietly. But she was under investigation because she didn't have that cover. See, when Hillary Clinton, and I'll say this, we've got 60 seconds here before we end the show. When Hillary Clinton called Barack Obama and said, "I'm sorry," we talked about that. What did that mean? I'm sorry. If anyone should have been, she lost. Why is she apologizing to the press? Because all of their house of cards got exposed. They were going to get exposed. Loretta Lynch, Eric Holder. They talk about subpoenas not being responded to. Eric Holder never responded to a subpoena that Congress issued and was held in contempt of Congress. Only Attorney General ever to have that happen. We got 30 seconds, Frank. Roll.
We will see how this plays out. I believe that the expansion of the Barr investigation may include some elements of this, whether that whistleblower actually was prompted to do what he did for partisan political reasons. We know his attorney had been involved in things like this in the past. We'll see how it shakes out.
We'll sign off, but we're still on Facebook and YouTube. Well, Frank. Yeah, Frank. We're off of
good show.
Yeah,
good
thanks,
show,
man.
by
Good
the
show.
way.
Yeah, thanks, man. A lot of fun. But these things happen, man. It's just amazing to me that the American public and a lot of people, they don't deal with this for what it is. They don't take the time to read these 5 pages. What Schiff said was absolutely untrue. He painted and he lied on the president. He lied on the president, said, "I don't see any reciprocity here." I mean, the president never said that, never alluded to that in these 5 pages.
No, not at all. No, there's nothing there. From a plain legal perspective, there's absolutely nothing there. They're not going to go any place with it.
Well, they're trying
to.
to.
They're going to shoot themselves in the foot with it, is what they're going to do.
Well, Frank, I just hope it's over. I'll be glad when it's over. I know you will too. And hey, thanks for being on with me, man. I really appreciate you.
Hey, Charles, enjoyed it. Talk to you soon. Hang in there.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. We're off the air. Let's do this. Get off. We'll get over here. We'll get